Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a very long time. So, in this episode, I would like to address one issue, and which I'm going to pose it as a question. What is South Sudan's problem that is holding it back from developing and achieving its potential, given its abundant resources? So just hold on to these questions. For any nation to develop or to advance, it lies in the shoulder of its leaders. And since 2005, President Kiir has changed the whole government several times in search of the so-called right people and solutions. But neither has he found the right personnel nor the solutions. Because in fact, I don't know what kind of people or solution is President Kiir looking for. So, and when a leader cannot find the right persons or solution over 2 decades, it is one indicator of poor leadership, which makes me argue that President Kiir's poor leadership is the problem of South Sudan. So, in this episode, I'm going to talk about 10 indicators of a poor leadership, and we will try to relate those indicators by giving an example from how President Kiir is performing relating to that indicators. So, but right now, let us just go briefly into those indicators, and then on every day I will be taking one indicator, slice it down by giving an example of President Kiir actions during his over 20 years ruling in South Sudan. So the first indicator of a poor leadership is a lack of clear visions and directions. The second indicator is a poor communications. So when there is no clear vision or directions, it's become very difficult for the leader to communicate the message to the people. The third indicator is inability to make informed decisions. Fourth, I will be talking about favoritism and unfair treatment within the government. And the fifth one is the lack of accountability. Then we will come and talk about the micromanagement and lack of trust in team member. Seventh, I'll also talk about inflexibility and resistance to change. And the next one that I will also talk about is a poor emotion intelligence and empathy. And number 9, I will talk about self-serving behavior. And the final one that we will talk about is inadequate feedback and coaching. So these are 10 elements over poor leadership. So, in this today episode, I will start with the lack of clear vision and directions. So, first, poor leadership lacks clear vision and directions. And I believe that, and you will agree with me, that President Kiir lacks both. Because if he had a vision or a directions, by now his vision for South Sudan should have taken shape by seeing South Sudan's developing, striving as other nations. So, but some people may come and say, oh, yeah, President Kiir has the visions and has directions. So the questions that comes to my mind, what is his vision then? And why up to now we haven't seen anything? So, for example, let us just compare South Sudan to the other countries in East Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia. So the most ministers and their leads in South Sudan, families, they live either in Uganda, Kenya, and few of them may be in Ethiopia. But there is no any single minister from Uganda who send their family to come and live in South Sudan. Or even there is no single minister or even ordinary citizen from Kenya who send their children or family to come and live in South Sudan like the way that we do, or even Ethiopia. None of that. Also, when you look into during this period from 2005 up to 2025, 20 years in power, there is no any single mega project that President Kiir completed successfully. So, for example, during the time that President Kiir is the president of South Sudan, the Ethiopian government came up with a grand Renaissance dam, which is revolutionized the way that the power and solve the issue of power in Ethiopia. That is a big project, and it's done while Kiir is in the government. Also, Kenya, you go and see, you look at the train from Mombasa all the way to Nairobi. It's a big project that was done in Kenya. You go to Uganda, Uganda just started discovering oils, and now their pipeline from Uganda all the way to Dar es Salaam is almost finished. But what is the big project that Kiir did in South Sudan? Nothing. Completely. They've been thinking the issue of refinery, it fails. The issue of alternative pipeline also failed. The regional road of Barghazal also is a failure. So there is no single project that President Kiir did in South Sudan compared with the other regions. Also take, for example, how many students from Uganda that are studying in South Sudan, I mean, or how many students in Kenya, from Kenya, who are coming to study in South Sudan? I don't think there is a single student that you could say. But you see, majority of South Sudanese, they go to a Ugandan school, Ugandan university, the same in East Africa, specialization in Ethiopia. So President Kiir has not done anything. If he had any visions, at least by now, it should be very clear, because he has been in power for almost like 20 years. And he's still struggling to find a solution. And even when you look for a solution, you need to define the problems. And the reason Kiir could not find a solution, because even for him, he doesn't know what is the problem. You see? So when we look at South Sudan now, I don't see any progress made since 2005. There are no roads, no hospitals, school built, or even clean water in the lead city of Juba. Juba itself, water. Juba doesn't have clean water up to now. So, however, what I see is a rampant corruptions in the government institutions, and most importantly in his office. Insecurity almost everywhere, including his home state of Warab. So, even President Kira has promised the people of South Sudan every year that he's maintaining peace, he's maintaining security. But we haven't seen him succeed in providing security in South Sudan. So, and even for us as a citizen, we didn't fought for 50 years so that we come and contend with the security. We need more than security. We need development. We need progress. We need roads, hospitals. We need our country to thrive like any other nation. So for those who believe that Kiir has vision, he should come out and explain to the public what is Kiir visions and how long it will take him to achieve it. And let's support of Kiir visions would agree that his vision is to destroy the country, because what we are seeing right now is the destructions, is the total destruction of the country. So for example, since 2005, the people of South Sudan migrated outside of South Sudan instead of coming back, because now we have the country and everybody was supposed going to come back and participate in the building of a nation. But the insecurity has sent people to the neighboring country. Those who have money, they live in the bigger cities like Kampala and Nairobi. And those who are poor, probably they live in Gulu, refugees camp, or even Kakuma and whatever, and all those things. So, is that the situation that we want to maintain? So this is one argument. Some people may argue that the SPLM, which he leads, has a vision, which means that the SPLM vision is his vision, is the President Kiir vision. And you might be right if you think that way. However, having a vision without a strong believing in and pursuing it with a strong determination to achieve it is useless. It just becomes a dream, it's not a vision. For instance, the reasons the Sudan People Liberation Army fought for 21 years is because the late Dr. John Garang not only had vision, but strongly believed in it. Though Kiir fought alongside late John, he was not a firm believer in the SPLM and SPLA visions. That's why as soon as he took the power, he abandoned the SPLM and SPLA ideal and turned into a SPLM being turned into a functionless institution. He abandoned the army, he abandoned the party, and imagine, he abandoned even the army that brought him to the power that he enjoys now. So when you look in Juba now, who are providing security, is the Ugandan People Defense Force. There is no leader who believes in movement visions would abandon its vision from the first days, and Kiir exactly did that. So this is the one point that Kiir lacked vision completely. So I don't know, because I don't know how Kir is going to change to fix the economy and to do all these things that we want in South Sudan. I believe he cannot. Let us take, for example, the incident that happened in 2013. Okay? So the country was almost collapsing, and to the extent that the army was totally destroyed, and he needed to import Ugandan People Defense Forces in order to come and defend Juba. So just only Benyongor Arabic ida. In Arabic they used to say that Alatra bitsallah al-mashi. So when you fall into a problem, you learn from it, and then you put a plan so that you address that problem so it could not repeat itself. Also, the Muslim used to say that al-Muslim la yurzaq min johri maratain. Like, what did Kir learn from the incident of 2013? Nothing. Because right now, he needed the Ugandan army to come and defend himself in Juba. From who? From his own SPLA, the people who fought alongside him during the liberations. And he should learn from the geopolitical in the world. So what happened to those European countries who were depending on the US to protect them? Recently, when President Trump came to power, he said, no, I will never support those Europe countries. So when you depend on another nation forces in order to come and defend the country, that itself is a weakness, as it is an embarrassment. Because you should build your own army to protect yourself. Because nobody knows. You have seen Uganda now in Kajokeji. So how is Kir going to defend the border when he's being protected by the Ugandan People Defense Forces? That's a big lie. So Uganda can encroach into South Sudan territory today, but Kir will not have any single word to say, because Kir is weak. And when the leader of the country is weak, that's opened a door to so many problems. So now we become like a DRC, because President Kir is a very weak president. So no matter how strong is the country, but the leader is very weak, the country will still vulnerable. And you have seen whatever statement that the son of Museveni is posting on X, which is the former Twitter. So basically, you should build your own country and depend on your own people, not depending on foreign troops to come and defend you in Juba. So now if Museveni comes to Numali tomorrow, what would Kir say? He would not say anything, because actually he's very weak, and he's weakened the country, and he's weakened the army, and therefore the country has become weak. Even his leadership will collapse at any time. Because today, if Museveni say, oh, I don't want to support you, I don't want to defend you anymore, how he's going to survive? The only person that you can trust is yourself. And the only person that you can trust is your people. And you cannot depend on other nations to say that they will support you forever. Sooner or later, they will pull out, and you will be exposed, and you will learn when it is too late to learn. So I want to conclude this part, which is a part of a lack of a vision and clear directions. So when a leader lacks a vision, doesn't have a clear directions, You see, it will keep wandering and nothing is being achieved. Let's take, for example, the economy. When South Sudan became an independent, the US dollar was equivalent to 2.5 or 2.2. By then, the US dollar was equivalent to 350 Ugandan shilling. So when you do the math, you will see that one South Sudanese pound was equivalent to 175 shilling. But today, what happened? It's because of a bad leadership and lack of visions. You see, all the countries in the regions, they are progressing, but for us, we are still struggling because Kir has no clear vision and has no directions. And when the leader doesn't know where it's going and where it's taking its people, it's become wandering and try to find a solution which he did not define the problem. So if you ask anybody in South Sudan today, what is the solution that Kir is looking for? Even if you ask Kir, he would never be able, because there is no way that during the 14 years, there is no any single South Sudanese that is good for Kir. So is that because all the South Sudanese are bad? No, it's not. It's because the problem is him himself. Because for him, he can appoint somebody today, fire them tomorrow. And this is something that we will come and talk about it later on. But right now, to conclude, that Kir lack any visions, and therefore, without a visions, this is one of the criteria of poor leadership. And see you on the next video. Thank you.